It was a beautiful morning, and Orga was excited to celebrate her love anniversary with James. James had not given her any plans for this day yet, so she imagined that maybe he might have forgotten about it. I know he's struggling and busy. The pressure of the project failure is too much to handle. But he can spare some minutes. Or maybe I can go to his house before he goes to work and surprise him with the news. I know he will love the baby, and maybe it may give him the strength to fight those challenges. She had to look better for her fiancé. She remembered that James had restricted her from coming to his house without him knowing. But Orga thought that it was because of the lot of work he had, and that he didn't want anyone disturbing his moment of rest and peace. But this day was special to them. She had to pay him a surprise visit. With determination in her heart, Orga decided to surprise James at his house. She quickly got ready, putting on her favorite dress that James had bought for her and grabbing a small gift she had prepared for him. Despite the restriction, she felt confident that James would appreciate the gesture on their special day. She went to Maggie's room to inform her about her plans to surprise James on their anniversary and tell him about the pregnancy. She knew she had her friend's support, whether James accepted the baby or not. Opening Maggie's door, she found her sitting engrossed in her laptop, drafting lines for her new song. She took a seat beside her on the bed, taking the laptop from her. "Good morning, girl. What are you doing?" Maggie looked at her friend and smiled. "Bad girl. I am doing what I always do, and I am fine. You don't have to worry." She realized that Orga seemed different, and continued, "Well, I think this is not about me. You dressed well. You seem to be going somewhere. Now spill the beans, baby girl. I am listening." Orga blushed in embarrassment. "Maggie, we haven't had time to talk this week. The company is going through a tough time. Everyone is busy at the company. Not to mention James. He's been under too much pressure. That's why I have been coming home late and leaving early. I am so sorry if you felt lonely." "It's okay, baby girl. You know I'm always busy too, drafting new lines and going to the studio for recording. It's normal, sweetheart. We're not college students anymore. We're now career women. Now stop rushing around and tell me the news. I am dying of curiosity. Are you going to work dressed like that? Who are you going to seduce?" Orga looked at her, searching for understanding in Maggie's eyes. Seeing that Maggie was tentatively waiting for her to speak, she started. "Me and James haven't been close these days, maybe because of the company project failure. You know that. He told me not to go to his house unannounced. I have been missing him but have nothing to do about it. When I ask him if I can come over, he says he's busy or tired, and I understand because he's going through a lot. But today is our anniversary, and I think I deserve some time with him, putting aside all the stress and work. And you know I have to break the news of my pregnancy to him today. I want to surprise him." Maggie nodded understandingly, placing a comforting hand on Orga's shoulder. "I get it, honey. Sometimes guys can be clueless about what we really need. But you're right. Today is special and he needs to know about the baby. Whatever decision he makes, I am here for you. We're one. Just be yourself, and I'm sure he'll appreciate the effort you've put in. And hey, if he needs a little reminder of how lucky he is, that dress will definitely do the trick." She winked, trying to lighten the mood. "Now go get him, Tiger. Good luck." Orga smiled gratefully at Maggie's support, feeling a surge of confidence. "Thanks, Maggie. You're the best friend a girl could ask for. I'll let you know how it goes." With a determined nod, she headed out the door, ready to surprise James and share the news that would change both of their lives forever. Orga's heart pounded with excitement and nervousness as she made her way to James's house. She rehearsed what she would say to him, trying to find the right words to express her love and share the news of their baby. Meanwhile, at James's villa, the couple had woken up early. James wanted to talk to his fiancée, Jocelyn, about their wedding and the mutual benefits of this wedding. He wanted his in-laws to invest in his drowning company. Breakfast was ready, and they both sat at the table, enjoying their delicious meal. James had planned that after work, he would take Orga out and tell her that their relationship is impossible. Not because he didn't love her, but because he desperately needed Jocelyn and her family's support to revive his company. He loved Olga so much, but he had no choice but to let her go. He had no idea that Olga planned to surprise him this morning, knowing that he told Olga not to visit him unpredictably. He was perfectly fine with his fiancée Jocelyn sitting at the dining table. He wanted to start a conversation. Joss, I wanted us to talk about the wedding plans and after the wedding plans, and I want to hear your opinion first. As she reached his doorstep, she took a deep breath and knocked, her hand trembling slightly. James was about to speak when the doorbell rang, interrupting their conversation. James frowned slightly, not expecting any visitors at this hour. He went to answer the door, his heart racing with anticipation. When he opened the door, he was met with the sight of Olga standing before him, looking radiant in her favorite dress. His heart skipped a beat as he took in her appearance, a mixture of surprise and delight washing over him. He was worried that Jocelyn might see her, and he would lose the investment that would come from his wedding with Jocelyn. Before he could say anything, Olga spoke up, her voice filled with excitement. James, I know you told me not to come unannounced, but I couldn't wait any longer. Today is our anniversary, and I have something important to tell you. Her words hung in the air, tension building as James and Jocelyn exchanged glances, both unsure of what was about to unfold. James's face changed in the blink of an eye. Olga, I warned you not to come here without me knowing. Now before I lose my temper, get lost. Olga's heart sank as she heard James's harsh words. She felt a mixture of hurt and confusion, not understanding why he was reacting this way, especially on their anniversary. She tried to hold back tears, but they welled up in her eyes, threatening to spill over. James, please, just give me a chance to explain, Olga pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion. I came here because I wanted to surprise you and share something important with you. Can we please talk about this? But James's expression remained cold and distant. He glanced back at Jocelyn, who was watching the exchange with a smug look on her face. His resolve hardened as he turned back to Olga. There's nothing to talk about, Olga. I have made my decision, and it doesn't involve you, James said firmly, his tone leaving no room for argument. Olga felt like her world was crumbling around her. She couldn't believe that James was pushing her away like this, especially on this special day. She wiped away her tears, trying to gather her thoughts. Fine, James. If that's what you want, Olga said quietly, her voice filled with resignation. But just know that I came here today to share something with you, and you've been pushing me away, saying it's work, but now I don't know if you're still into me. I guess some things are just not meant to be. Jocelyn saw that James took a long time at the door, so she asked, Who's that, James? Olga turned on her heel and walked away. When she heard a woman's voice, she turned back and gave James a confused look. James didn't want Olga to find out all of this way. He was planning to have a heart-to-heart conversation with her, and for Jocelyn to know about his relationship with Olga. But now he had no other choice than to act as if he never had feelings for Olga. He paused, then responded, She's a friend. She works at the company. Let her in. Why are you pushing her? Come, let's have breakfast together. It's not that Jocelyn loved visitors. She wanted every woman who's coming closer to James, or thinks that James can love her, to know that he is her fiancé, and that they're getting married in weeks to come. Olga stood frozen, her heart heavy with disappointment and confusion. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. As James tried to brush off her presence, Olga couldn't help but feel a pang of betrayal. She had thought their love was strong enough to weather any storm, but now she realizes she has been living in a fantasy. Feeling a mix of anger and sadness, Olga forced herself to be strong and entered the house. The three of them sat at the dining table and started to enjoy breakfast. Olga was so heartbroken that she couldn't even hold a fork firmly. Jocelyn observed the tension between Olga and James and asked, So your name is Olga, right? Olga managed to fake a smile on her face. Yes, ma'am. Olga Thompson. Jocelyn wanted to know more about her and continued. My fiancé said that you work at his company. Was the reason for your morning visit work-related? Olga really didn't know what to answer. She just heard that James had a fiancé all along. He had played her. She was lost in her thoughts, not knowing if she could bear to stay here another second. She chose to stay quiet because if she were to say another word, tears would come down like a river. James realized the hesitation in Olga's eyes and decided to intervene. Joss, don't you think you're being mean? You've made her uncomfortable. Jocelyn didn't seem to care. She just wanted Olga to leave her fiancé alone. Really? I am? Well, I was just asking a simple question. How's that hard to answer? Olga took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart and quell the rising emotions threatening to overwhelm her. She knew she had to keep her composure, especially in front of Jocelyn, who seemed determined to assert her dominance over the situation. I apologize, Ms. Jocelyn. Yes, my visit this morning was work-related. I needed to discuss some urgent matters with James. Olga replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. James shot Olga a pleading look, silently begging her to play along with his charade. He couldn't risk Jocelyn finding out the truth about their relationship, not when so much was at stake. Jocelyn raised an eyebrow, her eyes narrowing slightly as she scrutinized Olga's response. I see. Well, James, if you're done with your work-related discussion, perhaps we can continue our conversation about the wedding arrangements. James nodded, relieved that Jocelyn was shifting the focus away from Olga. Of course, Joss. Let's talk about the wedding. As Olga excused herself, unable to bear being in the same room with James and Jocelyn any longer, she plastered on a fake smile, bidding them farewell before hastily making her way out of the house. Thank you for this delicious breakfast. I see that Mr. Hawkins is busy. We will talk at the office. Without waiting for their response, she strolled out of the house that was once her boyfriend's. Once outside, Olga shut the door behind her, taking the gift she had prepared for him where she left it. She let the tears she had been holding back finally fall. She felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and betrayal coursing through her veins. But amidst the pain, there was a glimmer of determination. She refused to let James's deceit break her spirit. She would pick up the pieces of her shattered heart and move forward, stronger than ever before. Olga wiped away her tears and entered her car, driving off, determined to leave behind the painful memories of James. She wanted to see her friend Maggie so badly. She's the only shoulder she's got to cry on. How could he do this to me? He's been deceiving me, making a fool of me with his so-called love. What do I do with this pregnancy now? My baby is going to grow up without a father. As the car drove down the street, tears streaming down her face, she thought about how she wasted her time and youth on someone who didn't appreciate her. Now she needed to focus on herself and her baby, no matter what the future held. I will never let him know about my baby. He will never come close to me, that liar. Meanwhile, back at James's villa, he stood at the window, watching Olga's retreating figure with a heavy heart. He knew that he had hurt her, but he also knew that he had to do what was best for his company. As he turned to face Jocelyn, he tried to push aside the guilt that was gnawing at him. But despite his outward confidence, James couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness that had settled in his chest. Deep down, he knew that he had lost something precious, something that he would regret for the rest of his life. As he looked out the window at the retreating figure of the woman he loved, he couldn't help but wonder if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Jocelyn, on the other hand, watched Olga's departure with a satisfied smirk, knowing that she had successfully driven a wedge between James and Olga. She was determined to secure her future with James, no matter what it took.